Hello, Tubievers, and welcome to another Philosophical Thursday. It's been a while, hasn't it? It really has, yeah. So, they messed up my medication, and it's been kind of a horror, and then we adopted this one. Welcome to Yoda, to the Philosophical Thursday. Yes, now I have two toddlers with scissors. Don't ask, I am way too nice. And there goes another earring. Excuse me. Yes. Anyway, so coming up, we have a big decision for our country. Yeah, you may have read in the down below where I said this was going to get political, but it's not going to get political in the way that you think it's going to get political. I want to talk about political discourse, okay? And I want to talk about the difference between judgment and discernment, and judgment and criticism, okay? So, I want to tell you that one of my better friends is dyed in the wool, absolutely rock hard. She is such a staunch Republican that she's almost a libertarian. She wouldn't believe that, but she is. And she's an evangelical Christian. I'm an evangelical Christian. We both met taking part in another hobby, and because she's also really curious and completely and totally non-judgmental, okay, and non-critical, she and I got to be friends, okay? Now, she honestly believes that the best way to bring about, well, I'm not going to explain her political beliefs, okay? But basically, she and I have very similar religious beliefs that lead to absolutely opposite ends of the political spectrum, okay? She believes most children should be schooled at home. I believe most children should be schooled publicly. It's very interesting. She believes that all social work should be done privately. I think most of it should be done publicly so that it's not done with bias. And she thinks that that's people's right. And, I guess it is, but she and I have different views about how to bring about the kingdom of heaven, basically. And you know what? But at heart, we all want the same things. We want people to be able to live freely. We want people to be loved. We want people to be fed. We want people to be happy. We want people to have homes. We want people to be healthy. We want people to have health care. We just have very, very, very different ideas about how that's going to happen. Now, how would we have become friends if we had just said, well, I voted for so-and-so, well, I voted for so-and-so, well, I don't believe in that, well, I don't believe in that. Well, if we had just criticized each other's political positions, if we had just gotten nasty and been critical of each other, we never would have been able to come together. Instead, what we did was we chose to listen to each other. We chose to listen to both sides. And no matter what happens on Tuesday, what I really hope is that you will listen to people on the other side. Because there's going to be losers. There's going to be losers. There are going to be people whose candidates lost. And not just at the national level. There's going to be people whose candidates lost at the local level and the state level. And there are people who are going to be scared that this means the end of the world, because they're not going to be able to see how the other side is going to be able to carry out their beliefs. And she has the same values and wants that I do. She just has a very different way of going about it. A very different way. So the difference between judgment and criticism is this. Criticism always comes with some kind of negativity. Criticism always says there's something obnoxious going on. Criticism always says, I'm right, you're wrong. Judgment says, let me make a considered decision, a considered opinion about something. When I got dressed this morning, I made a judgment about what I was going to need in terms of covering my body. Okay? I looked outside. I took into account the fact that I live in Florida. I took into account the fact that there's some hurricane with a weird name has just gone by, and it's really humid out here. So I made a decision that I was probably not going to need a parka. I made a decision that I was probably not going to need down boots and a down coat. And so I made a decision to put on what I have on. And then the birds made a decision that the very best place to be was on me. They usually make that decision because that's their favorite place to be. You know, they made a judgment that this is, of all the places in the house to roost, this is the safest place. Yeah. And then they made another judgment or decisions to fight about it for the rest of the day. So I've been battleground about who's going to sit on mommy's head for most of the day. Yeah. If I hadn't been able to make a judgment, then I'd be dressed incorrectly for the weather. If I hadn't been able to make a judgment about when I needed to lie down and when I needed to take a nap, then I couldn't be recording this video. If I hadn't been able to make a judgment about when I was hungry or what that rumbling in my tummy was, well, then I might have passed out because my blood sugar was too low. So judgment is not the problem. Criticism is the problem. And remember that criticism, the I'm right, you're wrong, is usually backed by fear. Fear that if I'm right and you're wrong, I have to be right and you have to be wrong. Because if you're right and I'm wrong, then you're going to crush me and I will lose everything that I have. Well, that's not true. It's not true. It's just not true. You know, we're living in times where people are so afraid. We are. We just are. You know, and of all the people in the world, I have the right to be afraid. Am I going to get sick? Am I going to die? You know, people are like, I'm not going to wear a mask. Well, great, because you're not going to wear a mask. I get to stay home. And, well, that's your choice. Well, I guess so. I have a compromised immune system. Until this thing passes, or most of the people, I'm just going to stay home. And you're right. But if most people would wear masks, then maybe I could at least not have to spend money to get my groceries delivered. I don't know. But that's a little more political than I really wanted to get. But the reality is, we are a society. And what we really want to do is we want to listen to each other. We want to listen to each other. And not just act out of fear and say, well, you must be stupid, or you just must not be able to think straight, or you're backing the wrong candidate, or you've got, you know what? We're adults. We all make decisions based on our own judgments. And we don't lie awake at night going, I wonder how I can screw up society for everybody else. We make decisions out of our fears and our worries about what we're going to lose. And the reality is, no matter who's president, most of our lives go on much the same way. You know, no matter who's governor of whose state, most of our lives go on pretty much the same way. No matter who's senator, our lives go on pretty much the same way. So remember that your neighbor is still going to be your neighbor, and your town's still going to be your town. And remember to treat people with kindness and love. And think about what's going on from their point of view. and think about how afraid they might be. Not just what you might lose. Just think about that. Because we're all scared. And we all don't know. So, kind of long, it is kind of political, but it's also not political. You know, thinking about it from what the other person is thinking is not a bad idea. Use your judgment, not your criticism. Thank you for listening. More later, more crafty things. The meds are working now.